So I just want to talk about the whole idea of rendering and what rendering is and why it's important for a jeweller's practice. So basically, rendering means drawing it up to scale very precisely and having it look like what it's going to look like when it's made. Now, this is very important for the maker because it allows me to understand sizings and ratios and actually seeing if that size of stone will work with the design that I'm actually thinking of in my head, or whether the band is going to be too thick, the stone's going to be too big, whether it's actually going to be practical, how it's actually going to work in practical terms to do it. And it minimizes the amount of possible mistakes that you might come towards. However, it's also very important for the client as well, because it allows you to show the client what you're planning to make them and what it would actually look like. So having a rendered drawing from 3 sides and 3 perspectives is actually very, very important. Now, these are skills that I was not taught. At university here in the UK, they don't actually teach you hand rendering, or at least they didn't at my university, and none of the ones that I've heard of in the UK teach you these skills. And I believe that it's really missing a mark. And while I am extremely grateful for the education that I've had here in the UK, and I have learned a lot from it, and it would have been a career path that I wouldn't have even been able to do in another country, because obviously here, having help and having free education in Scotland, it really does help people find what they're good at and what they want to do, rather than in where I was in Italy. It would not have been a viable career path for me to take, because I didn't know anyone in the industry, and the universities are so expensive that even if I had known about this as a possible choice, there would have been no way for me to actually have gone and studied there. So for me, it was absolutely amazing. However, there are certain things in the education that I believe are a little bit missing, and because they're focusing a lot on the design aspect of it and innovative design and conceptual design, I think it's a great thing of the way that they teach design and drawing and how to be more expressive and go with your own thoughts and not just be boxed in with that idea of what jewellery is and what it should look like and just traditional skills. I believe that actually learning how to draw in a more creative way and how to design in a more creative way is a really good thing. It has actually made it so that UK is a leading power, let's say, in creative design and in contemporary design. So that all has its benefits. However, because of that, there's not enough time to teach you hand rendering skills and actually drawing to scale and the more traditional method of drawing and designing, which really actually is useful if you are then going into business for yourself and you're having to deal with clients who want things that are maybe a bit more traditional. But even if they're not, you still need to be able to communicate with clients. Hand rendering is your communication method to show your client what you are planning to make for them and what you can make for them. If you've just got a squiggle on a piece of paper and all I showed my client was this, they're not really going to feel very safe or that you really know what you're doing, because you can't even mock up something that you're planning to make for them. So it really is an important skill to have for that side of things. But if, however, you have, let's say, decided to graduate from uni and not go into business for yourself, but actually planning to go and work for someone else, planning to maybe go and work for a larger company or for another jeweller or anything like that, you are required to have these hand rendering skills. And I know firsthand, going and applying to work for other places and get some internships and apprenticeships at other places, the first question was, how are your hand rendering skills? And that just took me aback, because it's something that you are not prepared for. Luckily, I actually was educated in Italy in my primary education on how to draw certain renderings for a more architectural drawing point of view. And it's just one of the base subjects that you get, because you do get a lot of people that end up going into architecture and that sort of design. So it is kind of a base skill that you need and that you are taught, but you are doing it basically with big scale things. And especially at that age, when you're 11 or 12, you're not getting like precision drawing of really intricate objects. You're getting maybe a tube. Do a rendering from 3 sides of a tube, do a rendering of 3 sides of a box. But at least that did give me the groundwork that I needed to actually understand what a projection looked like and how it actually worked. So I had that background with me. And when I just graduated from university, as I said, I went and applied to get some internships and apprenticeships, and unfortunately they're very few and far between, but I did do a very brief stint with Hamilton and Inches before everything went up in the air and everything had to be postponed. But I was actually being sussed out to be a potential in-house designer for them. And they gave me some tasks to do. So not only thinking up new designs and new commercial designs, but also hand rendering, so that they could then transfer what a client was wanting to their makers or to their CAD designers to then actually have cast. So I had to actually basically take a drawing that they'd quickly done with the client and actually transfer it to size, to scale, and actually have it so that it would be feasibly makeable, let's say. Because a lot of the time when you're drawing not to scale, you think that certain things can be done, but actually they can't. And if that just rough drawing goes straight to, say, the CAD designer or the maker, it's not going to work, because it doesn't actually translate and it's not actually feasible. So they need that middle person to actually, with the making skills and the designing skills, to come together and actually design something that will actually work in practice. So that's what I was doing for them, and it was 3 months of very intensive learning for me. And literally I would do a rendering about 20 times before submitting it to them, just so I made sure that I got absolutely everything right. And it was a steep learning curve, and as I said, luckily I had some grounding in it. And I was very upfront with them. I said I was not trained for this. I have some grounding, but if you are willing to let me try and give me a shot, then I can actually show you what I can do. And I have to say, the feedback that I got from them was absolutely amazing. They were like, we are absolutely astounding at the skills that you have to do this, especially not having been trained. And to be honest, it was a lot of hard work and a lot of drawings and redrawings of stuff, and then getting to the end of one and everything's just bang on right, and then realizing that that setting in that size wouldn't work, so I'd have to start all over again. But it was a steep learning curve, but it has left me with a skill that I feel that I still am nowhere near where I want to be with it. And I really want to learn better how to hand render and how to actually render in color. And that's something that I am currently working towards, so that I can really be really proficient in hand rendering. But as I said, it's not something that I was ever trained in. And I believe that people should be trained in this, especially when the industry is still demanding this. I still remember going to Hamilton and Inches and telling them that I was not prepared in this skill and I did not have this skill, and they were just appalled that I wasn't educated in this skill, because it's something that every in-house designer or every in-house maker, even, you don't have to be just a designer, but every maker has to have hand rendering skills. And they were just absolutely appalled at the fact that I wasn't taught this. But on the other hand, they were extremely happy with my work and extremely happy with the skills that I did have. So it worked okay for me, but it does preclude a lot of people from actually doing it, thinking that they've got a university degree and then suddenly being faced with a world that they're not equipped for. And it's a lot of hard work then to actually teach yourself these skills, especially if you don't have the groundwork. So I really believe that universities are missing out a point on that, and it's something that should maybe be taught a lot more. So thanks again for joining me today and listening to all my rants and ramblings about hand rendering. I hope you found it interesting at least. If you have any comments about today's video, then please feel free to leave them in the comments box down below. Or if you would like to contact me directly regarding any possible commissions you might like me to do, or if you just want to talk about things and discuss a few things, then please feel free to write to me directly through my social media at Lorna Design or through my website at lornaromanenghi.com, and I'm always happy to hear from you. And lastly, if you've enjoyed this video and would like to see more like it, then please subscribe to my YouTube channel and don't forget to click the notifications button, which will keep you alerted to any new videos coming out. So thanks again for listening, and I will see you again soon.